There is something very simple, but something very profound that we miss every year on December 25th. Very difficult for us to cut through the tinsel, the flowers, beautiful songs, all very well and good, the festive meals that are waiting for us. Very difficult to come down to what is called the basic remains of boiling this wonderful feast down to its primary elements. What is it all about? The church has been arguing over this for many, many years. Very interesting, and we'll never solve the problem, never solve or get the right answer. Maybe in the next life. Jesus came to bring redemption. That's simple, right? Jesus came to restore everything that happened because Adam and Eve were disobedient. That's the primary reason why Jesus came. And so the theologians over time were saying and asking the question, what if Adam and Eve were obedient? What if they were not disobedient? Would Jesus have come? And that's an issue that theologians and those theologians who write all those profound books cannot answer. For instance, Augustine died in the year 430. Augustine said if Adam and Eve were obedient parents, Jesus would not have been born. There would not have been a Christmas. And then St. Anselm agreed with him. Anselm died in 1109, Archbishop of Canterbury in England. He agreed with Augustine and other theologians who held the same opinion. And then comes along a simple, wonderful, intelligent Franciscan priest from Scotland, Duns Scotus, who said, yes, it's true. Christ came to bring redemption because Adam and Eve were disobedient. But if Adam and Eve were not disobedient, Jesus still would have come because it is a profound act of love, a gift of love, that God became human. That's the bottom line. And all this stuff of Christmas, and we all love it. We all enjoyed it. We all enjoy receiving and giving and singing and eating and drinking. The bottom line is to get in touch with the reality, the profound gift. God became one of us. Christmas means many things, but at its heart, the concept of God taking on human flesh is what we must emphasize. Christmas reminds us, among other things, God gifted his Son to our world. Duns Scotus, the Scotsman, was right. It's an act of love. The fact that God is born shares our material world, blesses, sanctifies our physical world, and your body and my body. I was talking to somebody and he said, Joe, it's so difficult to get in touch with that. How honored we are. There have been people in your life that you shook their hands. Wow, I shook the hands of a president. Wow, I shook the hands of Paul VI. Wow, Bishop Hunthausen, saintly Archbishop of Seattle. Wow, I spoke to him on the phone, how honored I was, etc., etc. How honored we are, and must emphasize and think about, God became one of us. Christmas means that our lives have become sacred. Now, sometimes we don't feel that, but everything is sacred. Nature, our homes, our kitchens, our workplace, our restaurants, our sports, even in the casinos, and not the least, in our bodies. We are sacred people. I have a lot of inexpensive reproductions of wonderful paintings in my house. Those sacred paintings, especially of the Middle Ages, to remind me of my sacredness, of my privilege, of my honor, of having my God share my life. You can do the same. They're cheap reproductions that are beautiful. Christmas is about the ordinary. We need not look to the extraordinary. We need not look for miracles to find God. God is where we live. And like my friend said, how difficult it is to realize that, to internalize that, to always be in touch with that. It's true, Emmanuel, God is with us. But no, like the people in Jesus' time, we are constantly looking beyond the ordinary, beyond the gardener, beyond the guy who cleans our houses, beyond the guy who keeps the dust down in the front yard, beyond the teacher. We're always looking for something extraordinary to find God. We're always looking for a miracle. We are intrigued, oh yes, by Padre Pio, who experienced the wounds of Jesus Christ. But we fail to see the wounds of Christ in the street person. We marvel at the wonders of the world, but are bored viewing the face of a dirty-haired Ukrainian little girl on the TV every night. John, the evangelist, reminds us, God is love. And whoever tries to abide in God abides in love. And if you abide in love, you abide in God. And God is found in the sacraments, in private prayer. All these things are ordinary, my brothers and sisters, ordinary. And the Christmas child crawls into them, and helps us to abide in God. How often I have invited you in these past wonderful years to always try to be present to the presence of God. And so after all these centuries of waiting, of longing, what did we get? A helpless baby, unable to feed himself. That wasn't the way anyone expected this to happen. They expected a superhuman being, someone who had muscle, intellect, someone who was invincible, someone who would simply dwarf all the powers of the planet, someone who would chase away the Romans, chase away all warrior nations. That didn't happen, did it? And so we ask ourselves, we weak, human, but beautiful human beings, why did God reveal more in the body of an infant and that rather of a superstar? Because the power of God works to melt our hearts rather than to break our hearts. That's what infants can do. God's power draws us into the intimacy of each other. Not through might, not through invulnerability. You cannot overpower another person as to make him or her love you the way you want that person to love you, unless you overpower that person the way a child overpowers us. That's why God became human. It was an act of love, a gift of love. And so when Jesus took on flesh in our world and then died seemingly helpless, some 30 years later, God enters a special part of our lives that you and I will experience. God stands with the suffering and the powerless of us humans. And we've got to get in touch with that. When this beautiful body of ours breaks down with arthritis, when the vision is not as sharp as it was 10 years ago, when the hairs on the head fall out more frequently than we desire, when our appetites are all screwed up, we got to realize that God, who becomes human, is with us in our sufferings. I spend a lot of time visiting Siena Hospital, rehabilitation place. I live 5 minutes from there. I have so many dear friends that I visit in the hospital, neighbors, people that I never knew 5 years ago. They can't walk anymore. They can't see like they used to see. They can't enjoy a meal like they used to enjoy a meal. But if those people, and you and I, when the time comes, if we can tie all of this in with this Christ who became one of us, I assure you, from my own personal experience, it's much easier to suffer with Christ than without Christ. That's why God didn't become one of us like a superstar. So don't be discouraged or misled by a vulnerable, crying baby in a manger. Isaiah sets us straight. A child is born to us. A son is gifted to us. Upon his shoulder is supreme authority. The people call him Wonder, Counselor, God, Hero, Father forever, Prince of Peace. His influence is vast and forever peaceful. Forever. Forever. A gift of love. And so we pray, child God, weak little baby in a cradle, with wonder and gratitude, we behold your birth. May your birth illuminate our dark nights with the brightness of your love. And may the good news we hear in our own chaotic, struggling, broken Bethlehems bring joy and hope to all our mournings. And may the poverty of your birth in a tiny little town and life among us help us indeed to recognize our own poverty in our fragmented world. May your coming, O weak little child of God, may your coming to us as one of us inspire us to lift up one another in dignity of being your daughters and your sons. Help us, teach us, motivate us, remind us that we belong to one another. Merry Christmas.